Welcome back to Crafty U. My name is Heather and today I'm going to show you how to make gemstone coasters. For this craft you're going to need some cork board. This cork board is already cut in a circular shape. This is made for designing coasters, so if you can find this at your craft store this would be perfect. If not, you can purchase cork board and cut it in a circle yourself. You're also going to need some black acrylic paint, a foam brush for using your paint. You're also going to need some E6000. This is an industrial adhesive. It's very strong. It does have a strong smell. It is sold in a variety of colors, so you'll want to make sure you use clear. And if the smell bothers you, please make sure you buy a mask while you're there. We're also going to need a paper plate to protect our work surface. And for our gemstones, I got these at our local craft store. These are large gemstones that are flat on the bottom. You could use any size you want as long as they are flat on the bottom to stick to your coaster. Okay, let's get started. Okay, what we're going to do first is take our cork board and paint it black. So this is just black acrylic paint. I prefer to just put it on my plate and work with that instead of trying to squeeze it on there, because if you get too much it makes a mess. I'm just going to do this. It does absorb into the cork some, so if you have to do 2 coats that's fine. And I kind of go around the edges and brush in when I get to the edges, because that is just how I like to do it. I feel like it makes less mess and it makes a cleaner edge on the side. Turn it. I'm going to try and not get paint on my hands, but if you do, it is washable paint, so nothing to worry about there. Okay, now that our coaster corkboard is painted black, we're going to leave that to dry. And I'm going to bring out one that is already dry for us to work with. So this is what it looks like when it's dry. Mine is a little streaky. That's okay. No one's going to notice in the end. All right, so our next step is going to be to use this E6000. Like I mentioned earlier, it is a little bit smelly. So if you're sensitive to smells, please wear a mask, or do this outside possibly if you need some more ventilation. But what we're going to do is use this and glue down our stones. And I kind of like them to hang off the edge a bit. That gives a little bit more room for putting some in the middle. So I'm going to do like this. This part can be messy. It doesn't matter where you put the glue, as long as it's on the cork board. You can put it wherever you want. It doesn't take a whole lot. The more you use, the longer it is going to take to dry. And so you might want to think about that when you're using your glue. This is in a squeeze tube, so sometimes when you're done with it, it'll keep oozing out. So just make sure you leave that on a paper plate or something so you don't have a mess on your work surface. And again, you could use the smaller ones. If you don't like how these hang off the edge, or you don't like how they have gaps in between them, you can use the smaller gemstones. These were on the mosaics aisle at the craft store, so if you have trouble finding them, look for mosaic supplies, and that's where you'll probably find these. The good thing about it is you do have a little bit of time where it's still workable, so if they're not exactly where you want them, you can kind of slide them around a bit. Okay. And once we have them where you want them, what you're going to do is use this glue and fill in all of the cracks, kind of like you would if you were making a mosaic and you're filling it in with grout. Instead, we're going to fill it in with this. I go ahead and put a little bit in the cracks in between each one as well. this. This is a pretty thick glue. You may have to give it a good squeeze in some of these areas to get enough glue to fill it in. And this glue dries nice and shiny, which is I like because it makes it have like a wet look to it. I don't know, I just kind of like that look. So that's another reason I chose this glue. And you can use the end of the tube to kind of move it around if you need to. So, I really don't recommend touching it with your hands just because it's hard to get off. Okay, so we're gonna leave that like that. We're gonna put the lid back on. It is dripping a little bit, but that's okay. These, they probably have shifted just a tad bit from where you originally had them because you're giving it all this extra wet glue to slide around in. Okay, now the thing about this glue is it takes about 24 hours to completely dry. And so that's a good thing about doing it on a paper plate is you can move it and put it somewhere where it won't be bothered for 24 hours. After about 72 hours, which I know is a long time, then it's completely hardened. And so that way, if you put your glass on it and your glass sweats or anything like that, you can just wipe it off. And so it won't absorb into that glue. So I definitely wait a few days before using these. But here you have a gemstone coaster. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.